guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how I edit my photos on Lightroom Mobile, and the reason I wanted to do this is to show you that you don't need a fancy camera and you don't need fancy desktop apps to be able to edit photos professionally. You can edit photos taken on your phone with your phone and end up with a really beautiful finish. So I'm just going to be going through all the basic tools on Lightroom and how I use each of them to edit a photo. I have just opened up the photo that I'd like to edit in Lightroom Mobile, and I'm going to go through each of the tools that I use to edit most of my photos and just show you how I use them. So the first thing I look at is cropping the photo so that I know what composition I'm working with as I'm editing. And because this one is for Instagram, I'm going to crop it to 4:5 because that's the biggest rectangle you're able to have posted on Instagram. So I'm just going to crop it down using the grid that you can see when you hold the corners down, and try and sort of line things up with that grid. So you can see that I'm almost on one of the lines, the bridge goes across the top on one of the lines. So our eyes generally like to see things in thirds, and this way it's easy for us to know where to look, rather than things being cut perfectly in half. That looks pretty good to me. I'm going to press the tick and move on to the next bit, which is the light tab. So I'm going to increase the exposure a bit and also the contrast quite a lot. Highlights I'm going to bring right down because you can see there that the sky comes back when we bring that down. Shadows I'm going to push up quite a lot too. And that's something I generally do pretty similarly across different photos. Then I'm going to look at the color tab and move the temperature slider to be a bit warmer, and then the tint slider to be a bit pinker. I'm then going to bring the saturation down to about -10 and the vibrance up to about 30. And that's also something I do across most of my photos because the vibrance tool is smarter than the saturation tool in that it doesn't oversaturate colors. So then I'm going to go up to the mix tab in the top right hand corner, and this is where a lot of editing magic can happen because you have control over individual colors. And I'm going to start with the orange. That's usually where our skin tone sits, so can bring that down a bit to make myself look a bit more tanned and maybe a little less saturated. Then yellow, can look what that does when we play with it. So I might bring it down a bit so we get more detail in the hills and a bit more desaturated because I don't like to have really green greens in my photos. That's just what my style is. And then we can also look at the greens and maybe bring those down a little bit too, desaturate those, maybe make them a little bit more turquoisey. And really I just play around with these quite a lot until I have the look that I want. So then I'm not sure if anything is going to show up under the turquoise tab, and the way I normally tell is just by moving one of the scales quite up and quite down, and you can see not really anything is changing, so nothing's really falling within that color for this photo. Whereas with the blue we can see that the sky is really quite affected by that one. So I'm just going to bring that luminance down and desaturate it quite a bit as well because I prefer to have my blues quite desaturated. And then just a little bit more towards the turquoise side of the slider. So purple should be where these flowers are sitting, so I'm going to lighten those up. And you all know I prefer pink over any other color, so I'm going to push those all the way to the pink side and desaturate them a bit too, so they're not too crazy. And then see what we have in pink. Not a lot. Those flowers in the left hand corner a little bit, so I'll just bring that down. Okay, so then I'm done there, and then I'm going to move into the effects tab and up my clarity to about 10. That just gives details more definition, and maybe also I'm going to dehaze it to about 10 as well. Then I'm going to go into my split tone, and this is the place where most of my pink magic happens because I add a slight pink tone to the highlights and the shadows of my photos. You could do this with any color you like, really depends on your style. So I'm going to drag all the way over to the pink side of the scale, and then maybe push that up to about 10, and do the same with my shadows. So now you can see it's looking a lot pinker. So far we have this before and after with those edits. And now that I've done most of the things I want to do, that's when I'm going to go back and slightly adjust things. So I think now that I've played with it, it could probably be a bit more exposed. And maybe a little bit, no, I'll leave that. And then what I'm going to use is the selective edit tool, which is only available on the paid version of Lightroom, but I just want to show you what it does because it is something that I use quite a lot. So we go to the plus, the little brush, and basically what we're going to do is color in the area we want to apply some selective edits to. And right now I want to make this water a bit more turquoisey. So I'm just going to color that in, and then get the eraser, can sort of zoom in and fix up any out of the line areas. Zoom back out. Oops. Now I've got my area selected. I'm going to go into the color tab, and I'm going to bring the temperature down a little. And I'm also going to add a color over the top, so you can see you can do some quite dramatic things with this tool here. I don't want it to look unnatural, I just want it to look like how I remembered it when I was there. So maybe about there, and then maybe also a bit lighter and a bit more contrast. So then I'm going to tick that, so that's done. And now you can see my before and my after. So this photo was taken on my phone because I actually forgot my memory card of my camera, and I was slightly concerned that I wouldn't be able to get a photo I was happy with to post on my Instagram. But as you can see, photos from your phone can actually turn out really well, and especially with the Lightroom mobile app, you can do a lot with your editing. So that's my final result. So I hope those tips have been really helpful for you guys, and they're going to help you start editing your photos just the way you want them. And as always, if you have any comments or questions, please leave them down below. Give this video a like, and I will see you next week. Bye!